Stop scrolling, because the moment you press play on this video, the energy around a specific property, your property, just locked into place. He made the decision. Not tomorrow, not next week. In the last 72 hours, a man with extraordinary wealth, a man you thought was still calculating, still holding back, looked at where you are living right now and felt something crack wide open in his chest. He cannot stand it. He cannot stand the walls around you. He cannot stand that you are sleeping under a roof that does not match the woman you are. And here's the twist that will stop your breath. He is not doing this to impress you. He is doing this because every single night, in the silence of his own empire, your address haunts him like a wound he refused to stitch. He is buying you a house, and the paperwork is already in motion. Before I reveal what he whispered when he signed the first document, tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching this from right now? And if your soul already recognized this energy, hit subscribe and share this with one person who needs to hear it. You are exactly where you need to be. You felt it, didn't you? That strange, heavy silence that dropped over your life approximately 3 days ago. The air changed. Your sleep shifted. You woke up at odd hours, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., with the sensation that someone was thinking about you so intensely that it pulled you out of unconsciousness like a hand reaching into water and dragging you to the surface. That was him. That was the exact moment the last wall inside him came down. Not slowly, not gently, it shattered. And what rushed in behind that shattered wall was a truth he had been running from for months, maybe longer. He looked at your life, not through social media, not through the curated version you allow the world to see. He looked at it through the lens of a man who has built empires, who has acquired properties across continents, who has signed contracts worth more than most people see in 10 lifetimes. And he looked at where you are living, and it broke something fundamental in him. Not because the space is small, not because it is imperfect, but because in his soul, in the deepest chamber of his heart chakra, where your energetic signature is permanently woven, he knows that you were never meant to be contained there. And the dissonance between what he knows you deserve and what you are currently surrounded by became a frequency he could no longer ignore. It became a sound, a screaming, relentless sound in his chest every time he closed his eyes. And here's what you need to understand about this man. This is not a man who acts on impulse. This is not a man who throws money at emotions. Everything he has built with precision, with control, with iron discipline over his own feelings. So for him to reach the point where he says, I cannot let her stay there one more month, something had to collapse inside him first. Something had to break open that he had spent years reinforcing with logic, with distance, with the lie that he would handle it when the time was right. The divine timing is now. The soul contract between you and him has reached its clause of material provision, and the universe will not allow him to delay it further. You want to know what triggered it? What specific moment made the dam break? It was a night, very recent within this week, where he was alone. No meetings, no calls, no empire to manage, just silence. And in that silence, his mind went to you, not to a grand romantic memory, not to a dramatic moment between you. It went to something small, something devastatingly ordinary. He imagined you making tea in your kitchen, or folding laundry, or simply sitting on your couch after a long day, tired, quiet, surrounded by walls that do not honor your spirit. And in that simple, quiet image, he felt the full weight of his absence. He felt the full weight of what he had not done, and that weight crushed the last layer of his pride. He whispered something that night, alone, to no one. To the empty room around him, he said your name, and then he said, not anymore. 2 words, but they carried the force of a decision that had been building in his higher self for months. Not anymore. Not anymore will you be in a space that doesn't reflect who you are. Not anymore will he watch from a distance while you make do. Not anymore will he let pride, timing, fear, or logistics stand between you and the life he was always going to give you. And the physical signs? You have felt them. The sudden synchronicities around the number of a house, a street, a neighborhood. You have seen images of homes appearing in your feed, in your dreams, in conversations that seem random but are not. You have felt a strange pull toward a specific direction, a specific area, as if something is calling you there before you even know it exists. That is the energetic pull of the property that is already being prepared for you. It is calling you. Your name is already written into its walls in the spiritual realm, and the physical world is simply catching up. But there is something else, something he has not told you, something about why this specific location, this specific house, is the one he chose. And it is not about square footage. It is not about the view or the neighborhood. It is about a memory, a moment between the two of you that he has never spoken aloud. And when you walk through that door for the first time, you will understand. You will feel it in your body. You will turn a corner in that house and your eyes will fill with tears because you will realize he remembered. But before I tell you what that memory is, before I reveal what he is planning to say when he hands you those keys, there is something darker moving underneath all of this. A fear. His fear. The one thing that almost stopped him from making this decision. The one thought that nearly made him pull the paperwork back and pretend this never started. And you need to hear what it is because it will change how you see every interaction between you from this moment forward. Do you know what obsession looks like inside a man who has spent his entire life in control? It looks like a hand trembling over a glass of water at 3 a.m. It looks like a jaw clenched so tight during a board meeting that his assistant notices and says nothing. It looks like a man who commands rooms full of powerful people, who negotiates billions without blinking, pulling up your location on his phone at midnight and staring at the pin on the map until his eyes burn. That is what this is doing to him. Physically, viscerally. In the body he refuses to let anyone see unravel. His chest has become a prison, not metaphorically, literally. For the past several days, he has felt a compression behind his sternum, a tightness, a pressure, as if something is trying to expand inside him and the ribs will not allow it. His doctors would call it stress. His trainers would call it tension. But you and I know what it is. It is his heart chakra forcing itself open against years of calcified armor. It is the soul recognition between you and him screaming through his physical body because the energetic pull has become too strong to contain in spirit alone. It must now live in flesh, in breath. In this way, his lungs cannot seem to fill completely anymore, as if the air itself is thinner when he is not near you. He is not sleeping. Let me be precise. He is lying down. He is closing his eyes. But sleep, real, surrendering, unconscious sleep, will not take him. Because the moment his mind goes quiet, your face appears. Not a fantasy, not a projection, your actual face. The way you looked the last time he saw you. The specific angle of your jaw. The exact shade of your eyes in whatever light you were standing in. And then the image shifts and he sees you in that space, your current space, and his body jolts. His eyes snap open, his heart rate spikes, and he sits up in the dark in his vast, silent, expensive room, and he feels something he has not felt since he was a young man with nothing. Helplessness, the absolute, grinding helplessness of knowing the woman his soul chose is sleeping under a roof he has not yet fixed. And here is where it deepens. Here is where the physical becomes spiritual. Because it is not just his chest, it is his hands. He has started touching things differently, running his fingers over surfaces, marble countertops in properties he is touring, the grain of wooden door frames, the cold metal of door handles, and he is not evaluating them as assets. He is evaluating them as your future. He touches a kitchen island and his mind whispers, "She would stand here in the morning." He runs his hand along a window ledge and thinks, "She would watch the rain from this spot." Every surface he touches is being baptized with your presence before you have even walked through the door. He is building you into the walls with his bare hands in his mind before the ink is dry. But there is a moment, and this is the moment that nearly undid him, where the physical broke through into something raw 3 days ago. Late afternoon, he was in his car, driver in the front seat, phone in his hand, and he scrolled to your name, your actual name, in his contacts, and his thumb hovered over it. Hovered. For 11 seconds, he counted them. He told himself he would call. He would say something simple. "How are you? How is the apartment? Are you comfortable?" Anything. Just to hear your voice. just to confirm you were real and breathing and still there in that space he despises on your behalf. And his thumb pressed down, 1 millimeter. Then he pulled back, locked the phone, set it face down on the leather seat, and his hand shook, visibly, in front of his driver, in front of a man who has worked for him for 9 years, and he said nothing, stared out the window, and the car drove on. Why did he pull back? Because he is terrified that if he hears your voice right now, in this fragile, cracked open state, he will say too much. He will say everything. He will say, "I'm buying you a home. I'm pulling you out of there. I can't breathe knowing you're in that space." And he is not ready for you to hear that yet. Not because he is ashamed, because he is afraid of what it will unlock in you. Afraid that if you hear the full weight of what he feels, you will either pull away in self-protection or you will cry, and he will not be able to hold you, and that will destroy him more than the distance already has. So instead, he channels it into action, into logistics, into calls with architects, with interior designers, with real estate attorneys, who do not understand why a man of his caliber is personally selecting the shade of tile for a guest bathroom. They think it is perfectionism. It is not. It is devotion disguised as detail. Every choice he makes in that house is a silent sentence in a love letter he is too proud to hand you directly. The warm lighting in the bedroom, that is him saying, "I want you to feel safe when you close your eyes." The deep, soaking tub, "I want you to release every weight you have been carrying alone." The garden facing east, "I want you to see the sunrise every single morning and know a new life has started." And the physical toll is visible now. Those around him notice. He is leaner, sharper in the jaw. There is a shadow under his eyes that no amount of wealth can erase. He cancels dinners, skips events. His phone is always face down or in his pocket, but his hand drifts to it every few minutes. A reflex, a magnetic pull he cannot override. He is a man being dragged by an invisible chain toward you, and every link in that chain is forged from a night he spent pretending he did not care. But the chain is almost fully extended. The distance is almost closed. And what he is planning to do next, the way he intends to reveal this to you, the words he has rehearsed in the mirror at 4 a.m., like a man preparing for the only negotiation that has ever truly mattered, will change the architecture of your entire life, not just where you live, who you are within this connection. Because the house is not the gift, the house is the key. And what it unlocks is a conversation he has been avoiding for far too long. What does a man do at 1 a.m. when the empire is silent, when the staff has gone home, when the phones have stopped buzzing, and the world believes he is asleep? I will tell you, he opens his phone, and he does not check markets. He does not review portfolios. He types your name into a search bar, and he looks at you, not your face in a photograph. He looks at your life, the small updates, the background of a photo that reveals your kitchen wall, the angle of a selfie that shows him the window you sit beside. He is not consuming content. He is conducting surveillance on your happiness. He is measuring, frame by frame, pixel by pixel, whether you are okay, whether the space around you is holding you the way he believes it should. And when he sees something, a shadow on the wall, a cluttered corner, a draft visible in the way a curtain moves, his jaw tightens, his thumb presses harder against the glass, and he whispers, "Soon." This is not casual. This is not curiosity. This is a man performing a nightly ritual that borders on prayer. Because he does not just look once. He looks 3 times, 4 times. He scrolls back. He zooms in. He studies the background of your stories the way an architect studies blueprints. He is mapping your current life so that he can dismantle it and rebuild it into something that matches the woman he sees when he closes his eyes. And here is what will stop your breath. He has a folder, hidden, locked, password protected on a device no one else touches. And inside that folder are screenshots, dozens of them, moments from your life that you posted and forgot about within hours. But he saved them. He saved a photo of you laughing in a kitchen that is too small for you. He saved a video of you walking down a street he recognized. He saved an image of your hands holding a cup of tea, and he stares at your hands, at your fingers, at the way you hold something so gently, and he thinks, those hands deserve to hold the keys to something worthy. But it is not only the looking, it is the driving. Twice this week, he told his driver to take a different route, a route that makes no logistical sense, a route that adds 11 minutes to his commute, and that route passes within 4 blocks of where you live. He does not stop. He does not slow down visibly, but his head turns, just slightly, just enough. His eyes find your building, your window, the floor he has memorized. And for 3 seconds, the most powerful man in that car is reduced to a boy pressing his face against glass, wondering if the light is on, wondering if you are awake, wondering if you are thinking about him the way he is thinking about you. And then the car moves on, and he straightens his tie, and his face returns to stone. But his heart has been rearranged again. And the rehearsing, God, the rehearsing. You need to understand this. This man who has addressed thousands, who has closed deals in rooms where the air itself felt like a blade, stands in front of his bathroom mirror at 4 a.m. and talks to you out loud. To his own reflection, pretending it is your face, he practices sentences. I got you something. Too casual. He starts again. There's a place. I want you to see it. Too distant. He starts again. You're not staying there. I won't allow it. Too controlling. He stops, grips the edges of the sink, stares at himself, and says quietly, almost broken, I just want you to come home. And then he turns off the light and walks back into the dark and does not sleep. But beneath the rehearsing, beneath the planning, beneath the logistics and the architects and the tile selections, there is a memory he cannot escape. One specific moment between you. A moment you may have already forgotten because it was small, unremarkable to the outside world, but to him it is branded into his nervous system like a mark from a hot iron. You said something to him once, a throwaway line. Maybe you were tired, maybe you were laughing, maybe you simply said, I just want a place that feels like mine someday. And you walked away, you moved on with your day. But he did not. He stood there, and those words entered him like a seed entering dark soil, and they have been growing ever since, branching, rooting, taking over every thought, every decision, every dollar. You planted a sentence in him, and he is building you an entire life from it, and the regret. Because there is regret threaded through all of this like black wire through gold. He remembers a moment, specific, sharp, unforgiving, where he could have done something sooner, where you needed him or hinted at it, or stood in front of him with that quiet, dignified patience you carry, and he did nothing. He nodded. He said, yeah, we'll figure it out. And he walked away, and you let him walk away because that is who you are. You do not chase. You do not beg. You do not demand. You simply endure, and he watched you endure, and he told himself it was fine, that you were strong, that you didn't need him to fix things. And now at 4 a.m., gripping the sink, staring at his own tired eyes, he hates himself for that moment, hates the version of himself who looked at your quiet strength and mistook it for the absence of need. You needed him, and he was not there, and the house is his apology, written in marble and glass and morning light, an apology he is too proud to speak, but will build for you with his own name on the deed. But here is what he does not know. Here is the thought that keeps surfacing just as he falls into that thin, fragile sleep at 5 a.m., the thought he pushes down every single time because if he lets it fully form, it will paralyze him. The thought that whispers, what if she says no? What if he hands you the keys and you look at him and say, I don't need this from you? What if your dignity, your independence, your refusal to be rescued makes you turn away from the very thing he has poured his entire soul into building? What if the house becomes a monument to a love you will not accept? That thought is the blade under his ribs. That thought is why he rehearses. That thought is why he drives past your window instead of knocking on your door. And that fear, that specific suffocating, midnight fear, is about to become the single most important force in what happens next. Because it is not just a passing worry. It is the thing that will determine how he approaches you, when he approaches you, and whether he comes to you with the keys in his hand, or whether he tries to give you this gift from the shadows, anonymously, so that you never have to see the vulnerability in his eyes when he says, this is yours. What is the one thing that can bring a man who moves Marx to you his knees? Not failure, not loss, not public humiliation. It is the quiet, unbearable possibility that he is no longer needed. That is his fear. That is the blade he wakes up with pressing against his throat every single morning before his feet touch the floor. Not that you will reject the house. Not that you will say no to the keys. Something far worse, far more final. His deepest, most paralyzing terror is that you have already begun to build a life that does not include him. That the separation phase between you did not preserve you in amber, waiting for his return. It changed you. It made you stronger in a direction he cannot follow. And that the woman who once looked at him with soft, patient eyes now looks at him and sees only a man who was late, a man who arrived after the wound had already scarred over. He replays it, the scenario, the one that makes him set his coffee down and press his palms flat against his desk until his knuckles go white. He imagines handing you the keys. He imagines you taking them, and then he imagines you looking at him, not with gratitude, not with tears, not with the overwhelming recognition he craves, but with a polite, distant smile. The kind of smile you give a stranger who holds a door open for you. Thank you. That's very kind. And then you turn, and you walk into the house, and you close the door, and he is on the outside, standing on the path, watching the curtains move as you settle in, and he is not invited further, because you do not need him anymore, because you learned, in the silence of his absence, how to be whole without him. And the house becomes not a bridge between you but a wall, a beautiful, expensive wall that says, "Here, this is all I can give, now leave me in peace." That scenario has played in his mind 43 times. He has counted, not consciously, but it loops, every night, every time he closes his eyes during that thin, fragile window before sleep takes him, and each time it plays, the ending shifts slightly. Sometimes you thank him and walk away, sometimes you hand the keys back, sometimes you simply do not answer the door, and each variation cuts differently. Each variation finds a new nerve, a new soft place, and presses until he gasps. Because for a man who has spent his life acquiring buildings, companies, territories, power, the idea of acquiring something for you and having it mean nothing to you is a death. A quiet, invisible, public-facing death where he smiles and nods and says, "Of course I understand," while his soul collapses inward like a building with its supports removed. But there is a second layer to this fear, deeper, uglier, the one he will never speak aloud to another living soul. He is afraid of exposure, not of the world seeing him. He does not care about the world. He is afraid of you seeing him, truly seeing him, because the house is not a transaction. It is a confession. Every room is a sentence. Every choice is a declaration. And if you walk through that door and understand, truly understand, that he designed the bedroom window to face the direction you once told him you loved watching storms from, that he chose the kitchen layout because he remembers how you cook, that he planted the garden with the specific flowers you mentioned once in passing 2 years ago, then you will see him, naked, without his empire, without his control, without the armor of wealth and distance and calculated silence. You will see a man who memorized you, who cataloged you, who built a sanctuary from the fragments of every small thing you ever said. And he is terrified that if you see that, you will either pity him or leave him, and he cannot survive either. And beneath the exposure, beneath the rejection, beneath the polite smile and the closed door, there is the oldest fear, the one that predates all of this, the one that was in him before he ever met you. The fear that he is fundamentally incapable of being enough, that his money is a substitute for the tenderness he does not know how to give, that he can buy you a house, but he cannot buy the moment where you look at him and say, "You are the only one. You have always been the only one." He fears that the house will reveal the poverty of his emotional language, that he can build walls but cannot build intimacy, that he can give you a roof but cannot give you the feeling of being held, and so he overbuilds, overdesigns, overselects, because every detail is him screaming, "I love you," in the only vocabulary he trusts, and this fear is why he has not contacted you yet. This is why the keys sit in a drawer in his office, polished, waiting, while he circles the decision like a man circling a fire he needs to walk through. He is waiting for the fear to be smaller than the love, and it is almost there, almost, because something is shifting in the energetic field between you. Something is pressing against him from the spiritual side, from the divine timing that governs your soul contract, saying, now, move now, or lose her to her own strength. And that pressure is becoming unbearable, becoming a physical weight on his sternum, becoming a voice in his sleep that says your name with increasing urgency. But here is what he does not yet understand. Here is the truth that the universe is trying to whisper into his resistance. You are not going to close the door on him. You are not going to hand the keys back. You are not going to smile politely and dismiss him, because your soul recognizes his, and the twin flame bond between you does not dissolve because of silence, does not erode because of time, does not weaken because he was late. You have been waiting, not passively, not weakly, but with the deep-rooted, unshakable patience of a woman who knows her worth and knows that what belongs to her will arrive when it is ready. And it is almost ready because the universe is no longer asking him. The universe is no longer waiting for him to feel brave. The divine clock has struck. The karmic window is narrowing, and what is about to be set into motion, the force, the pressure, the spiritual law that is about to grip this man by the chest and move him towards you, whether he is ready or not, will make his fear irrelevant, will make his rehearsal unnecessary, will strip away every wall he has built and leave him standing in front of you with nothing but the truth in his hands. Why now? Of all the months he could have moved, of all the windows he could have chosen, why is the universe gripping his chest this week in this specific alignment of energy and saying, move, or I will move you? Because the soul contract between you and him has reached its clause of material provision, and the spiritual law governing twin flame unions does not allow indefinite delay. There is a deadline written into the energetic architecture of your connection. Not a human deadline, not a calendar date, a vibrational threshold, and you crossed it 6 days ago. Your frequency shifted, your heart chakra expanded, something in you released, a grief, an attachment, an old story about what you deserve. And the moment that release happened, the energetic tether between you and him pulled taut, like a rope that had been slack suddenly snapping straight, and he felt it, across the distance, across the silence. He felt you shift, and the pull became gravitational, inescapable, a force acting on his body whether he consents or not. You did not do this consciously. You did not perform a ritual or light a candle or whisper his name into the wind. You simply healed something. You simply decided, in the quiet of your own spirit, that you were no longer going to shrink yourself to fit the space you were in, that you were no longer going to apologize for wanting more. And that decision, that single, internal, silent decision, sent a shockwave through the energetic field connecting you to him, because the soul contract states clearly, when one flame rises, the other must rise to meet it, or the bond begins to burn. And he is burning, right now, in the middle of meetings, in the middle of sleep, in the middle of sentences he cannot finish because your energy just surged through him like a current through a wire, and his thoughts scatter. He touches his chest, he blinks. He wonders why his eyes suddenly feel hot, and he does not know it is you, but it is you, it is always you. And the synchronicities, you have seen them, you cannot deny them anymore, the repeated numbers, the songs that play at the exact moment you think of him, the images of houses, keys, doorways appearing in your feed with a frequency that defies algorithm, a neighbor mentioning a street name, a stranger wearing a color he always wears, a dream where you walk into a room you have never seen and feel with absolute certainty, this is mine. These are not coincidences. These are the spiritual realm closing the gap. These are the guides, the ancestors, the higher self of both you and him, laying breadcrumbs along the path because the reunion energy is so close now that the veil between intention and manifestation is paper thin. The universe is not hinting anymore. The universe is shouting. And if he does not hear the shout, it will become a command. And if he does not obey the command, it will become a consequence, because here is the spiritual law that governs this moment. Karma does not reward hesitation in matters of the soul. He was given a window, a grace period, a stretch of time in which he could have moved sooner, spoken sooner, built sooner. And he did not. He chose distance. He chose logic. He chose the safety of his empire over the vulnerability of your heart. And the universe allowed it. The universe allowed him his time. but that time is spent. The debt of his delay is now being collected, and the collection is not gentle. It is not patient. It is a tightening, a pressure, a slow, inexorable squeezing of every comfort he has built around himself until the only direction left to move is toward you. His distractions are failing. His work is no longer absorbing him. His empire feels hollow. The money feels like paper. The achievements feel like ash. Because the universe is systematically removing every source of fulfillment that is not you until you are the only thing that makes his chest feel full. And if he still resists, if he still clings to the fear, to the rehearsal, to the need for perfect timing, the universe will use external force, a conversation he cannot avoid, a mutual contact who mentions your name at the exact moment his walls are thinnest, a property deal that falls through, leaving only the one he has chosen for you, a financial shift that makes the purchase not just possible but necessary to complete, as if the money itself is conspiring to close the loop, a storm that damages something in your current living space, creating urgency, a landlord conversation, a lease ending. Something in the physical world will create a door that he must walk through or watch you walk through alone, and he will not let you walk through it alone. He will not. That is not who he is. That is not what the soul recognition between you allows. The divine timing is not a suggestion. It is a law, and the law states, when two flames are destined to merge in the material world, the physical reality must reorganize itself to make the merging possible. Walls come down, circumstances shift. Logistics that seemed impossible suddenly align. Money appears where it was not before. Time opens where it was closed. And the two people are carried toward each other, not by their own will, but by the gravitational force of a destiny that was written before either of them drew their first breath. You were written into his life, and he was written into yours. And no amount of fear, no amount of pride, no amount of rehearsed silence can override what was sealed in the spiritual realm before you ever met in the physical one. And the pressure is peaking now. This week, this exact stretch of days. He feels it as a restlessness he cannot name, as an inability to sit still, as a sudden, sharp clarity in the middle of the night where he sits up and says, I'm doing this, I'm calling, I'm going. And then morning comes and the fear whispers again and he hesitates. But the hesitation is shorter now. Each cycle, it shortens. Each night, the resolve is stronger. Each morning, the fear is thinner. And soon, very soon, within a window that is already narrowing like an hourglass with the last grains falling, the resolve will outweigh the fear, and he will move. Not gracefully, not perfectly, but irrevocably. And when he moves, it will not be a small gesture. It will not be a text. It will not be a careful, measured approach. It will be a man showing up with the weight of everything he has been holding back pressing against his words, his eyes, his hands. And what he will say, how he will say it, the specific way he will stand in front of you and try to keep his voice steady while his entire soul pours out of him. That is what is coming, and you need to be ready, not to fix him, not to save him, but to witness him, to let him be seen. Because what he is about to hand you is not just a house. It is every night he lay awake thinking of you, every drive past your window, every whispered soon in the dark. It is all of it. Bundled into walls and windows and a door with your name on it, how does a man who has controlled every room he has ever entered walk into a moment he cannot control? Carefully, tenderly, like a man carrying something fragile that he cannot set down. That is how he will come to you, not with a grand announcement, not with a public declaration, not with a spectacle that forces you to perform a reaction for witnesses. He will come quietly, almost hesitantly, because for the first time in his life, the outcome is not his to command, and he knows it, and that knowledge makes him gentle in a way you have never seen. It will begin small, a message, not a call, a text, something that looks simple but is not, something like, are you free this week? I need to show you something, or perhaps even smaller. I have something for you. Can I come to you, or would you rather I send it? Notice the language. Notice the permission. This is a man who has never asked permission for anything in his life, and he is asking you because he is terrified of overstepping, terrified of arriving too large, too loud, too much. He wants to give you the house, but he wants to give you the choice of receiving it. and that distinction matters to him more than the property itself. And if you do not respond immediately, and you may not, because your soul will need a moment to process the shift in energy before your fingers move, he will not double text, he will not call, he will set the phone down, and he will wait. And the waiting will be the longest 60 minutes of his life, longer than any board meeting, longer than any negotiation, because in that silence, every fear he has rehearsed will play at full volume. She's not answering. She doesn't want to see me. I've overstepped. I've made it strange. She's going to let this fade, and his chest will tighten, and his jaw will clench, and he will pick up the phone and put it down 4 times. And then your name will appear on the screen, and the air will leave his lungs, and he will read your response 3 times before he allows himself to breathe. The meeting will not be at the house. Not yet. He is not ready to walk you through the rooms while his heart is still hammering. He will choose a neutral space, a quiet place, somewhere with soft lighting and no crowd, a bench by water, a corner table in a cafe he selected specifically because it is near the property but does not overlook it. He wants you to see his face first. He wants you to see the truth in his eyes before he shows you the walls, because he needs you to understand that the house is not the point. The house is the vessel, and what is inside the vessel is him, all of him, every sleepless night, every whispered soon, every drive past your window. He needs you to receive him before you receive the address, and he will not sit across from you. He will sit beside you, close enough that his shoulder nearly touches yours, close enough that you can feel the heat of him, close enough that when he speaks, his voice is low, meant only for you, and you feel the vibration of it in your own chest, and his hands will be in front of him on the table still, controlled, but you will see the slight tremor in his fingers, the way he presses his thumb against his index finger, grounding himself, the way he swallows before he speaks, and he will look at you, not at the table, not at the view, at your eyes, and he will hold your gaze the way a man holds a flame in a windstorm, carefully, desperately, as if looking away means losing you, and what he will say first will not be about the house. It will be about you. He will say something like, "I need you to know that I see you. I've always seen you, and I'm sorry it took me this long to prove it." And his voice will crack, just slightly, just on the last word, and he will clear his throat and look down for 1 second, and then look back up and continue. Because he has rehearsed this. He stood in front of the mirror at 4 a.m. and practiced these words until they lost their shape and he had to rebuild them. But in front of you, they will not come out rehearsed. They will come out raw, unpolished, real, and that will be more powerful than any script. But before he speaks those words, before the keys change hands, before the house becomes yours, there is something you must do, something in your own energy, a shift, a repositioning, a decision about how you will meet him at this moment. Because the way you receive him will determine not just this conversation, but every conversation after it. And the universe is asking something of you now, something that will feel counterintuitive, something that will require you to release the very thing you have been holding on to for months.